Is your camera on? There you
Yeah,
are.
here we are.
Hi, how are you? How was your
Uh,
week?
oh, it was fine. It was fine. No dramas, which is a good week these
Yeah,
days.
that is a,
Yes. And what about you?
I had a good week.
Yeah.
I had
Oh, good.
no more massive health problems this week.
Oh, that's good.
That is good. Yep.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't
I'm
believe it. This
I
is
I've been ticking off the thing. I don't know about in the US, but we get sent a bowel test in the post. When you're after 50, you get sent these. Right.
wow.
Um, and you send them off and it's all free. And so no one wants to do them for obvious reasons. But I thought January, I'm doing it. I did that one. Now pap smears are do it yourself. Do it yourself. I'm going, oh
Yeah,
no. And
yeah.
then I got the skin cancer. And yesterday I had a mammogram and they haven't improved.
No, no. They don't improve. It's what they are. On the other hand, though, my aunt died with breast cancer at 36, and we can, if we take
Yes,
care of ourselves, we can go past that. So,
yes, exactly. But yes, so I've had a run of it. I thought just get them all out of the way for the new year. So
yeah, yeah. Oh,
all
and I
right,
found
enough
a place
about
to
the
read.
mortal stuff. So,
Yeah,
so it's your last lesson.
I know. I could weep. I love these so much. I've enjoyed this like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, but don't forget, like I said, you can always get back and say, look, I need another one on this or
Yep.
that.
And I will. I will.
Yeah. All right, honey. So, what are your questions for today?
You know what? I have everything here but my tarot cards. Let me go get them. I got my questions, I got my book, I got this, but not my cards.
Okay.
I forgot my tarot card. Oh. Okay. Yes. So I've got some questions, and because we're kind of winding down, one of them is about a dream. So I got a question regarding a dream, and I thought I would put it by you to see if tarot cards can be used for dreams. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
this is the
about,
question.
and this is what I'd encourage you to do, is when people, or yourself, if you think of something or someone asks you, give it a go.
Give it a go. Yep.
And you might find that ends up being your super thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
mm,
Right.
yeah. Mm.
So this is coming from a lady who is our age, and her brother died a few decades ago, but in a really tragic car accident. But she had dreams about him, and one of them she remembers so vividly, and one of them was she had to get someplace to meet him. This is after he died, but she didn't know that in the dream. She wasn't thinking about he died.
Yeah. Mm.
So she had to get someplace to meet him, and she was told exactly where to go. And she hurried over there, only to be told that it was a bloody accident, and she had to meet him there. She went very quickly over there to meet him, only to be told there was a bloody car accident, and she had to meet him. So she kept going and going, trying to meet him in the dream. And she said it was so vivid and detailed. She has never really, of course, she's not devastated anymore by any of this, but she was
Yeah,
always
but no,
wondering
it
if there was,
stayed with her all this time.
yeah, yeah. So what, what, how would I read that?
Okay, so what's her first name?
Mary Lynn.
So, Spirit, please tell me about Mary Lynn's dream. They'll know what dream you're talking about.
Okay.
Mm.
And would you say a 4 card or 5 card? Probably a 4 card for this.
I think just four.
Okay. My shuffling.
That's because you're holding them up high so I can see them. Just go
Yes,
to
it
your
is.
natural position.
Okay, I'll hold them where I have them. Okay, tell me about Mary Lynn's dream.
Yeah.
Tell me about Mary Lynn's dream.
Or stop. You could say, what does Mary Lynn need to know about her dream? That might be better.
That would be better. What does Mary Lynn need to know about her dream? What does Mary Lynn need to know about her dream? 1, 2, 3. Mary Lynn, 4 cards. And I'll just put them all down like we're doing it. So the signifier for this is the Ace of Cups.
Oh.
Indicates this is a very still and emotional thing for her. It's got a lot of promise, a lot of hope to it. I think that there was a lot of love between her and her brother. All the dove of peace is flying in. The dove of peace always stands for something that is peace and spiritual. And it's the beginning of actually a new cycle between them, of him on one side and her on the other side.
Yep. Love that.
I'll flip over the rest and I'll tell you what they are.
Yep.
The 8 of Wands, Temperance, and the King of Swords. So this would tell me that even though this has happened quite a long time ago, the whole thing, there still is a lot of energy behind this. The memory of it, the events of it, there's still a lot of energy coming, and it still is something around her, probably will be always around her. I think that his essence of him will always be near her, especially considering that the Temperance is also there, the card that will tell her that it's actually one is on the earth and one is in the air. I mean, it's a kind of a beautiful symbology here.
Gorgeous card.
Yeah, considering what we're dealing with or what the question is, it's just wonderful. It talks about the peace and the balance. She's definitely found balance. She has really found ways to cope with this, even though I don't know if you can get over this, but she has worked it out, and this has become part of her story, that she has found balance, and the word temperance is so wonderful, and she has learned how to negotiate between what is real of the earth and what is spiritual of the air. The King of Swords.
Go on.
Go on, you tell me.
Well, it's like he is an angel or a guide for her.
Yes. I think that is really true. I really do believe that.
Does she do much spiritual work?
Yes, she does. She stays away from tarot because, I don't know, she's got some personal baggage. So did you, some bad reading at some point that, and she stays away from this, and she really offered me this question hesitantly. So I treat it with the deep respect that she gave it to me with. I'm really glad that she pulled the Temperance card for this. I'm not sure about the King of Swords, and I'm wondering if we should do a clarifier for that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because this is what I would call an outlier. The other cards make sense.
Yes.
And what's this about? I have a theory, but let's do some clarifiers.
All right. A clarifier. Now, when I do clarifiers, do I take them right off the top of the deck?
No, I shuffle again and ask for clarification. Leave the other cards where they are and ask for a clarifier on the King of Swords.
Clarifier on the King of Swords for Mary Lynn's dream and the meaning of Mary Lynn's dream. Clarifier. And then I can take the top one.
Yep.
Okay. The World. This is actually has a a lot of high importance for Mary Lynn. This whole reading does. This is a major card.
Yeah.
Um, the King of Swords, still, I'm a little bit leery, not leery, that's the wrong word, but this is like pulling a strength card, like pulling the male figure in her life, which I don't think he was like that. I don't think he was so
Yes.
strong and determined, but yet it was the male figure in her life. It was her only brother and sister, only sibling. And the world
And I
to me,
wonder if he was an air sign.
a what?
An air sign
Air
in
sign. Yeah, that I
astrology.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could
But I
be.
think it's him.
Yeah, that he has come up here in this dream, and he still is a figure in her life
Yeah.
to this day. That I think is true. The world is a completion of a whole cycle. And again, it goes so well in with the temperance. She has found the balance. The world is beautiful. The woman in the world card is looking back to see what she has learned. And there certainly is multiple lessons that has been learned here from this throughout the decades, not just that event. It has gone on, it has rippled effect for her all the way through. And it's a completion cycle. And with that, it's kind of like ready to start a new cycle. Yet I think even when Mary Lynn does, her brother will still always be playing some kind of a role.
Yes, and I think it's about a new cycle. Two aces in the world.
Yeah.
New beginning. I think she needs to move forward with him,
With him.
not despite that. And so that to me is a clue. She needs to reinvigorate her spiritual practice, including him.
Including him. How
Because there's
wonderful.
these aces are new things. So even our spiritual practices get tired. They fade. They lose energy. And so it's sometimes really basic. It's like a spring clean of what you do in your daily spiritual practice. And people can drift and say, oh, I used to do this, I don't do it anymore.
Right.
Time to do it again. Or they're doing something but they haven't changed it for 35 years, right?
Yeah.
This happens a lot. And I would suggest she starts lighting a candle every night for her brother.
Very good. Very good idea. Yeah. And even saying his name.
Saying his name.
Incorporating him in some way.
Yes, and asking for his guidance and help. He wants to give it. That's why that dream was so strong in the first place.
Yeah.
And yeah, he has a very strong air energy, right? He wants to help. He's screaming at her through the astral. She remembers him with the pain, the fondness of childhood, but the pain. He wants her to move on and use him in the capacities he has now to help her.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah. I want to be like that. See?
But I really think so. That is my genuine.
I do too. Listening to that, I truly believe that is her message, is to incorporate him. All of these cards, and you're right about the ace, the energy coming in, the male energy, the temperance and the balance, but yet the completion and the looking backward.
Yeah.
And to seeing what else is there for her that she can utilize with him.
With him.
With him.
It's not just about him and memory and no. He's great. He's in great shape on the other side.
Yeah.
And it's like he's shouting at her with those cards.
Yeah. The dream. Here I am over here. No. Here. I'm over here. But
that's
look
right.
For me,
Use me.
Use me. Look, see me. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Just love it. Oh. Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So basically, when people ask you to do things that are a bit out of the box, there's still just another reading, and it's up to you to just give it that extra slant. So just say yes to everything, more or less. Yeah.
I know that. I also have written down here, I've got a question on it all. I'm not sure, and I know I can't read anything personal on me. The cards have even told me that. Stop it. But this is a question I've got that I thought maybe I could bring up to you and maybe we could read on it. It seems to me that there are so many women I know our age that feel a call. And I think as this world, in the last 6 years, especially with Trump and the whole thing, the political thing, it better than anybody. But women are feeling this urge to come and to help other people, to spread their nurturing
They
wings.
absolutely are. They absolutely are. I think we're better off actually having a conversation rather than reading about that issue, because you will get it all the time.
Yeah. What's up with this?
Well, no, I think it's great.
But
I think we are light workers, for,
yes, we
want a
are.
better word. People are instinctively wanting to find their niche.
Yeah.
So my generic advice, because I can't tell you how many hundreds of times I've been asked this.
I know.
The generic things, then you can do an individual reading for this person or that person about it, but there are certain things in common. One is, we are at a time of great social upheaval and change, and we are being asked to lift our vibration or our frequency, if you like. So my advice to them is both spiritual and practical. So ironically, that what I was just saying about spiritual practices going stale, I have a conversation with them about that. When was the last time you really sat down and thought about and reinvented your process? You don't have to sit around meditating for an hour every day. It can be a 5-minute thing, a 10-minute thing. I ask them what they do, and most women do something.
Yeah.
So if they don't, they need to start.
Yeah.
And if they're doing it, they need to revamp it. Right? And so they can go away and think about what shape that should be that works for their busy lives or whatever. Go back to basics. Have you got an altar or an altar space? When was the last time you really took that altar apart, cleaned everything and reassembled it? If they haven't got an altar, I encourage them to get one. Not by money, not by creating a space that is their dedicated space. If they've got it, and it might just be a shelf or whatever, take everything off it. Clean the altar itself, clean all the component parts, maybe put them back in a different configuration, maybe take something away and rest it for a while and put something else there. Sometimes altars can be too cluttered. Do you need to strip it back? I ask them to think about their space in that way, right? Encourage them to think about the 4 elements. Have I represented earth, wind, fire, and water? Right. 5th being spirit. So fire is candle, the lighting. Air is the incense or sage that you can burn. Earth, anything from the earth. So that can be a crystal or a rock you picked up hiking 40 years ago, or a feather that's come from somewhere, or a shell, anything from the earth. Water. Most women have a dozen pretty little bowls they've picked up at car boot sales, right? And they've shoved in a cupboard. Choose one of them. Put fresh water in it every day. The next day, that water you tip out on your houseplants. Put fresh water in it every day. By just going through these simple processes, they're elevating and they're more likely to be inspired by what they need to do. And it fortifies them when we're being assaulted on many levels by all this shocking stuff that's happening. Right?
I know.
The spiritual side. The practical side is, how can I help? Depending on the woman, if they've got money, how they could donate to an organisation doing good work. If they have no money, or even have the money, it's not always about money. Can they volunteer a couple of hours a week or even a month to an organisation doing good work in their area? Because it's good for the soul to give of your time and your energy, but also you meeting like-minded people, and that's really good too. Women get very comfortable living in their own space, and they're very happy shutting that front door. And sometimes they need to be out there, because coming back to the generic thing of we as mature women, you know, we've talked about this before. I think we have a responsibility to teach because we know shit, right? And we have a responsibility to learn, and that keeps us active. It's learning and teaching, learning and teaching, learning and teaching. So by volunteering somewhere, it's not just about making that package of food for poor families or whatever the issue is about. Ex-teachers can volunteer 2 hours a week to do remedial reading with 2 kids. You know, there's a million ways they can actually help. And what they're doing is they're craving it. They want to do it. So suggest a few things so they get the idea that it can be this concrete thing as well as a spiritual thing. And just by being there, it might be other people our age there, and therefore you're of like mind in some generic sense.
Right.
Or you're with much younger people and they need to know what we think about aging and responsibility and society. And so it's a teaching opportunity. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how I deal with it generally. I look at the spiritual and I look at the practical, and they need both.
Yep.
And it's by circulating that you start to realize, oh, I could do this or I could do that. You know, it could be homing lost animals. That's not everyone's cup of tea for a whole range of reasons. And most people who are motivated by that sort of do it. It needn't be that invasive of their own home and time, but they do need to get out and see what's there and how they can help.
Yes, I understand. I was wondering if there shouldn't be some group support, but that would just be so hard. That would really be
Well,
hard.
yes and no.
So many
If the
of us.
time's right, it's easy.
Yeah,
So,
the time and the
so
place and the
that might
circumstance.
be one of the things you say, because some people, you can tell when you meet them whether they're talkers and
Right.
and whether they're computer savvy or not, and stuff. But yes, for someone that might be a really good specific suggestion.
Yeah.
I'm going to just start a group and see who turns up.
That, yeah, something to
Yeah.
think about. It's something to think about because there sure are a lot of us.
Yeah, millions and millions.
Yeah.
And we are being called. That's what that judgment card and the collective is about. We are being called because we do have skills.
Yes. And it's much more so now than it would have even been 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
Because
even 5 years ago.
crunched and changed. Yep.
Yep. And so I think just engage in that conversation. So when they come to you, and that's really the only question they've got for a reading, because that happened. Oh, I just want to know what I should be doing, right?
Right.
Okay. So stop and say, let's have the conversation before the reading, right, about this, because this one, and people get it when you have that conversation. Women get it. They just need it to be spoken.
That's actually one of my questions. I get so many like this. I like Patricia. This is one of her questions. My life is in such a rut. She's again our age.
Yeah.
My life is in such a rut. Where do I go from here? How can I get my life back on some kind of a track that's comfortable? And can that be answered with tarot?
Well, yes, but don't shy away from conversations.
Okay.
Right,
Again,
this
with
is what we bring to the table, our experience, our collective experience and our personal experience. So these sort of open-ended questions, I think, need that. And you say, look, let's have a conversation and then we'll do your cards, because then the reading will be more meaningful
Mhm.
once that conversation is had.
So
And
that
again, in her case, I talk about, and people actually take more in when they're not hit over the head with someone. I tease people and I say, look, this is the conversation I have, basically a variation on this, right? How old are you to the person? And they'll say 58 or 69 or 72 or whatever they are. Right? Statistically, as women, we are going to be around to 85 or 92. We all know equally, any of us could drop dead tomorrow. But statistically, you're looking at another big section of life. And I encourage them by saying, that is why you are feeling the need to do this thing. We are not a generation, we actually refuse to grow up, let alone grow old. We're not the generation to put on the fluffy slippers and watch reruns of Dallas. That is not going to cut it. We're the first generation of women who've had careers. And so we experience the retirement thing differently, right, than women before us who have just been, immersed in the family. So talk about all of that in the collective, and then talk about how to, because what's happened in, like, I'd say 100% of cases, these are women who are living on their own, or they're in a long-term marriage, the comfortable slipper marriage, and they've got a deep, trusted, loved, adored partner there, but they're still craving this outlet for themselves. You can
exactly.
identify with that, right? Those are the two groups. But the advice is the same for both groups. I throw them a challenge. So I'm going to ask you to go out twice a week and do something you wouldn't normally do. Could even start with once a week, but start with twice a week. And just get things like art gallery openings are good, because you're not a freak on your own as a woman in an art gallery. And they're early in the evening. They're usually 6 to 8 or 4 to 6 even. And you're home at 8:30. Why? Why am I saying that? Because you actually, it doesn't even matter if you've never heard of the artist, you're actually making small talk again with a different mob of people. You're learning how to just engage with a different set of people. It's an exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Book launches, same thing. Doesn't matter what the book is about. They're nice low-key events. You're not a weirdo for being there on your own. You don't have to drag the husband. It's a safe space. And you know what? You meet people who read books. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Sunday afternoon jazz. Again, it's a safe space. Anyway,
Now
just
you live in the
accessible.
city and here there is none of that, but I like all of the ideas.
Okay, I'll get to country options soon. City options. Again, you're not a freak to sit on a gin and tonic at 2 in the afternoon, particularly when the weather gets warmer. listen to a bit of swing. People talk to each other from different tables. It's about circulating outside of your defined world. Now, if you're in a regional or country space, those things are around, you're not going to get the art galleries and the books, but you are going to get little bands that might be line dancing or something else that you wouldn't normally go to.
Yeah.
And I challenge them to say yes to invitations. You know, when people ask you, would you come with me to do this, that, and the other, say yes, not no. And if things aren't going on, to maybe start that. Who'd like to, in a country, who wants to talk about something that's not, you know, overtly political or anything else, right? So it's about getting out, literally getting out, particularly post-COVID.
Yep.
It's really important to get out again.
Yes. I hear all of that, and you're absolutely right on all of it.
Regina, do you know other retired teachers? Because now it is an online world. If someone is a retired teacher, they can offer, like I said, 2 hours a week or something to the nearest school, and they can do it online. It's about the engagement.
Yep. Yep. Perfect.
It's
Absolutely.
really, really important. And so it's just recapping all that. It's getting out, breaking patterns. We're very patterned creatures.
Yeah, we are.
Saying yes, not no to invitations, revamping the altar. All of this will reinvigorate them. So everyone needs a bit more exercise. What, you ask anyone, okay, what is your favourite music? Because people stop listening to music, right? You get old and we're now all screen oriented and all of this. We stop listening to music. What music is your music, right? So put it on 3 tracks every evening, 3 tracks, or work up from 2 or 3 evenings a week, 3 tracks, which is about 9 minutes, and just get up and dance, even if you're quite restricted. But you put on your old Motown and away you go, right? Whatever the music is that
Wonderful idea. Wonderful,
makes you
wonderful.
want to do it. And then you don't call it exercise. But you
Yep.
know what? It gets the body moving in a different way than walking or swimming or even those who do exercise. It gets the kundalini moving. It gets your creative self moving. So 3 tracks, 9 minutes. You can't sit down till the 3rd track's over. Right?
I love it. Yeah.
Okay. And
Perfect.
encourage them to do little challenges. You can employ this yourself for a week or 2 and see how you go, because then you'll be more confident recommending it.
Yes.
Now, I don't know about your husband's mobility. How mobile is he?
We dance together.
That is the best thing ever.
Our house is he used to be a drummer for blues bands. So we still listen to
you
like
guys
the
are halfway there.
Yeah.
Exactly. But maybe just make it a thing a bit more often where you just put on your favorite tracks instead of going straight to the screen, and you'll reminisce, you know, and whatever. So you can do it as a couple, or many women are alone, like I said, either literally or in the marriage, they're alone. But music, as we all know, is for our soul.
Exactly.
It transforms you like that.
Yep.
So right. In your case, you say, okay, hun, you choose the music tonight, you get 3 tracks. Right. Tomorrow night, I choose the tracks, whatever.
Yep.
Get off the couch and have a bop. But the fact you do dance together is magic, and probably one of the secrets to a long-term successful marriage.
I think you're right.
Because it is pure magic. And he's an old blues man, bless.
He used to have
you
very
guys
long hair.
seen Tremaine?
What?
Have you seen the series Treme? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. Treme?
Yes, write it down because it's spelt Treem, but pronounced Treme.
Spell it again.
Treme.
I did spell it right. Okay.
Yeah. And it's set in New Orleans after Katrina.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's got wonderful actors in it, but all the musicians are real musicians.
Great.
And it's a really special series. So look it up first. Is it on HBO? What's it on?
I certainly
You
will.
know.
Yes.
And I think you'd both really enjoy it.
I think so too.
It's a fabulous series. It's just fabulous. And it really takes you there, you know, because if you listen, where did you grow up?
Nutterville.
Because if you're not tuned into New Orleans
So
jazz,
central Wisconsin, Nutterville, 5 miles from Wausau, which is the center of Wisconsin. And it was so rural that my mother was the church organist, my dad was the janitor, my uncle was the preacher of the church, and my aunt was the school teacher of the church. And it was one room church. I grew up with being 8 grades in one room. And when the state
yeah,
found that we
right,
were going, they took us apart.
yeah,
Very rural, deep
yeah,
rural.
yeah. My God.
So I've had to put all this on and learn all this since then.
Yes, I am impressed and amazed. Good on you, you know, because that's seriously rural.
Not many of us escaped.
No, that's right. That's right. No, it's like my closest friend, his mother grew up in the back blocks of Canada, like the prairies in the 20s, right, you know,
Yep.
deep rural poverty and stuff. And one of the things she used to say, which we used to laugh about because it was like, I should have fed you to the pigs when your bones were soft. And it was a joke, but you know what I mean. But it was from that deep rural stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay. My point is, if New Orleans jazz, we all know it's a thing, right? But it was never something I'd seek out. You know what I mean? As a music
Right.
form. Yeah.
Right.
But as this series unfolds, and your husband will totally get it, you know, you so get it
Yeah.
in a really different way. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah, we
Yeah.
will definitely look that up. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll totally enjoy it.
Yep.
Yeah. Goody. Okay. Now, another question, another read.
Okay. Now, this is an odd question to be asked too. Patricia wants to know. Oh, so let me tell you the Great Lakes in this area. If you've never heard of it, we've got a Great Lakes that if they'd all be together, it would be like another ocean. It's huge. It goes by Chicago. It goes by Canada.
I know, we all know about the Great Lakes.
Okay.
We had to draw them as children in Australia. And
Wow.
where is it? Hello? Hello?
So the Great Lakes water is dying. The
Yeah.
fish, like you can't eat the fish anymore from the water. It's too many PFAFs. It's hard for her to believe, but she's wondering if there's ever going to be hope again for the Great Lakes, or is this just our future?
I don't think, see, again, it's funny how today's lesson's going. Again, it's not really a tarot card
That's
thing.
what I thought. Okay, that
Yeah.
is not a tarot
The
card.
answer is it's in the hands of what is happening now. We have the biggest coral reef in the world, the Great Barrier Reef. It's
Right.
1,500 miles of coral
Yes.
reef,
And
and
it's
half of it
dying.
is dead.
Ah,
What are we going to do about it? Oh, I know. We'll put in another coal mine where all the tailings run onto the barrier reef.
I know it. And we can't do anything with the greed. We cannot. We can, but
Well, we can and we must.
it's not tarot,
And so
but
this is my thing. Campaigns, because people either don't believe climate change and you can't move them, or they do, but they're paralyzed and freeze. Right? Those are the two camps,
right?
Not good enough.
No,
I think working people who do not follow the fine print of the green economy or anything, they do understand your grandchildren will not see the Great Lakes if we do not do something. You have to make it something they get, which is their own grandchildren. There will be no Great Lakes. Do you want to be responsible for that or not?
right.
And sometimes something as iconic as the Great Lakes are things that can move people when other things don't work. So there would be people who are out to save the Great Lakes. So she needs to find them. She needs to volunteer and do some work for them. She needs to talk about it in her area, wherever that is, and find her voice about the Great Lakes.
You're so smart and you're so wise and you're
Not
right
really.
on.
It's just fucking obvious if you ask
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
But that could mean talking to reverends in that area, and you say, this is God's creation. We
yeah,
need to say, talk to
it
people where
is.
they are.
Exactly.
Talk to people where they're at, And I think you've got a better chance with that than you do of other not putting the gas line through, Indian land.
Yeah, yeah.
That's other people's struggles. We can all support other people's struggles. But if this is her passion, this is her time to put it into action, because paralysis doesn't help anybody.
You are so right.
And it is iconic, you know,
Yes, it is. It
they are
is.
massive. And it's an eternal shame on the country that it's got this bad, just as it is in Australia with our stuff.
Yep.
The UK, for example, I don't know what's going on with disposable nappies there.
I know.
How people go wrong. It's a problem everywhere. But they now have lakes that are congealed with disposable nappies. These used to be pristine lakes. Yeah. So we can't throw up our hands in horror. It's what can I do? What is the aspect of this story that gets my juices going? That's, I think, the question we each have to ask ourselves, you know. So she can really do some research. Who is doing what in her region? Does she live around the lakes?
No, she doesn't live around there. She lives very close to me, but if she's hot about this topic, she can reach out. She's a very astute lady,
Yeah,
so she can
and
do what she can do.
encourage her to become active,
Yep,
because there will be campaigns and stuff, and she'll
yeah,
say, well, whatever, the least she can do is become a keyboard warrior. But I think if she's that motivated, you can actually start things in other places. She could start a group, Sisters of the Great Lakes, women in every other state. What can you do about the Great Lakes? I mean,
yeah,
just let the mind go.
yep.
All this, um, and we're witnessing the most terrible degradation. It's 5 minutes to midnight. No government is dealing with it. No government is dealing with it. So sometimes you need something as dramatic as this to get people off their asses.
Yep. Another question that I have, and I don't know if this can be answered or not either. I've really got some difficult questions this time, I guess, or different ones, different than the
Yeah,
normal.
yeah.
But am I on the right path to remember who I truly am? This comes from someone who's Native American, and I think that the belief there is a little bit off of what we believe, or a little bit different, but not really. And so I asked her some questions. Her name is Laura, and I asked her some questions, like, what does she mean to remember who she is? Does she mean to remember past lives, or what? And she just said yes, but
I know where she's coming from, right? People who have been torn away from an Indigenous culture, and we see this a lot with Aboriginal people too, and they only do ancestry DNA and find out they're Aboriginal, and so they haven't grown up in the communities. They tend to have a very romanticized view of those communities, as opposed to people who have been brought up in it, where they've seen the domestic violence and the drunkenness and the child abuse and neglect and the other things that we can't talk about,
I know.
you know, and the magnificent things. So they tend to have a very romantic view. She's coming from, that is my identity and I want to remember. Now, what is her story as you know it? What has she said to you?
As I know it, she comes from, it's of course not 100% Native American, but it's enough that it's all poverty. It's poverty.
Mm.
She's married, she's got children, but as far as I know, it's just been kind of eking out, making do. The whole family's kind of been like that.
Yep.
And she's a marvelous person. This has nothing to do with any of that. She's
Yep.
wonderful heart, wonderful person, but it's a hodgepodge. It's eking out is what she does. Yep. And her father is very much into the traditional, everything traditional Indian, traditional as far back as he can know. But it's a difficult way to follow. It's a difficult life to follow. So they do like the ceremonial where they get the hot rocks and they have to go inside the tent, the lodges.
Yeah.
They do a lot of that, and spiritualizing that.
Oh, so she is connected to cultural
She is connected. Oh, yeah.
Because what I was saying is a lot of people come from the outside and they don't realize about the poverty and everything else that is the lived experience here. How old is she now?
I'd say 58.
Ah, second Saturn return. That's why the question. Remember, we've talked about Saturn return.
Yeah.
Have we had that conversation or not?
I don't think so.
Oh, well, we must.
Okay.
And we'll finish with her, but
okay.
Okay. I'm not an astrologer, you're not an astrologer, but what we need to know is Saturn returns. Okay. Now, when we're born, Saturn is wherever it is in the sky. Right? Like, Mars will be here and the moon will be, that's your birth chart, right? And Saturn is wherever it is. It's a very, 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 very slow planet. So a lot of us are born with the Saturn here. The sun and the moon move really quickly, right? When you think about it, sun and moon move really quickly. Right. Saturn hangs around. So, okay, it's so slow. It takes 28 years for it to get back to where it was when we were born. So that's our first Saturn return.
Okay.
Like the term says, that's where Saturn returns to the point where you were born. And that's why often 28 to 30, and because it's so slow, it takes 2 years. It hangs around for 2 years. Now, Saturn as a planet astrologically tends to have a bad rap. It's a planet of restrictions and responsibilities and limitations and obstacles, and everyone goes, ooh, yuck, Saturn. The problem is we need that structure as well as other things to mature and become responsible beings. And discipline is your friend. If you're going through discipline is your friend. If you're disciplined about things, you will get huge rewards from Saturn.
Mm.
Okay. If you're flaky and try and outrun it, boom. Okay. Now, your second Saturn return is 56 to 58.
Oh, okay. So she is, I see what you see now. Second Saturn returns. Yeah.
Right. And Saturn, we do on our own, even if we're in a relationship, even if you're in a house with 6 kids, whatever, you need to carve out who you are. So at 28, we're leaving behind childhood and young adulthood, and we're saying to the world who we are. 56 to 58, you've done the bulk of what you're doing, even if you're going to work for another 8 or 10 years. You've done the bulk of it, and that's when you start to think, do I really want to stay at this job I hate, or is it time to reinvigorate my career, or is it time to early retire if I can afford? Yeah, right. And that's what she's experiencing, this desire to know who she is.
Makes a lot more sense. Yep.
Okay. Now, what I would suggest to you as a reader, actually do a bit of looking around on the net yourself, Saturn returns, and find it a good one. People aren't going to, I mean, I'm sure there's books this thick about it, but you want to find a good person talking about Saturn returns, and you need to dip into what they're saying on any video, because the tone you don't want someone who's going to go, oh, Saturn returns are really terrible, and that's not helpful to anyone. You want someone who to say, look, it's about challenges and it's really productive to know that that's what you're going through, etc. And you need a good person you can recommend. You can say, here's this link. This will really help explain Saturn returns to you. Now, in terms of Laura, she has access to these things.
Yeah. Yeah, she does.
Right, in her culture. But with any Indigenous culture, anything in the natural world is going to connect her with her culture. Now, having said that, there might be actual taboos, or in the Australian Aboriginal context, sorry, the dogs are arguing right outside my door. Someone's taking them out. Certain skin groups, as they're called. So you might have a totem, and there's taboos with other things. So outside of that sort of cultural practice, anything to do with nature is important. So she needs to, where does she live physically? What sort of place?
I have not been to her place. Her grandfather's place or her father's place I've been to often. And that is very rural, very treed. He's got a couple of acres that are full of trees and nature. And you're right about that. I mean, it's very important to him.
Mm.
And I think to her too. But I don't know exactly where she lives.
Yeah. Well, she needs to find a space, because my vibe is her father's her father and conduit, but I don't know that they're that close.
Mm.
I don't think the relationship's that marvelous.
Okay.
That's my intuitive feel, and that's
Right.
what I think the block is.
Interesting. Interesting.
She needs to find someone else, preferably a woman, because things are very gendered in Indigenous cultures. Okay. Like
Yeah, they
here
really
we
are.
have, yeah.
And that's really
Like
why
here
I
we
just,
have a famous mountain, for example. The English name is Mount Warning, Trishna. It's a man's mountain. Now, if women go there, and there's a huge hippie commune started, because it's beautiful country, right? In this valley underneath the mountain, women go mad. They actually go fucking mad. Women are not meant to be there after sunset.
Is this the truth or is this rumor? Is this the truth?
You can feel it. If you're
Wow.
sensitive, you can feel it. And you see these women, and they go there and they live there for a year and they go crazy. Anyway, you've got the female equivalents. There's women's birthing sites. Men must never go there. It's women's business. You've got men's business and women's business. Then families and children and both genders, there's plenty of neutral spaces, by the beach and by the lake and up here and down there, it's all fine. But when there are very strong psychic, spiritual spaces, and I think she needs to find Indigenous women of her tribal affiliation, and it's kind of weird if she hasn't already, and if she has, probably they could be really ground down women,
They are.
women with violent husbands, violent sons.
Yep.
No. She needs to push beyond that, because there's always some functional auntie who's holding up 200 people. She needs to find that auntie. Right. And let her own mob fend for themselves for a few days or something, go and stay with the auntie. She needs the female input. So her father's done his best within the context of the era and racism and everything else to at least keep the lifeline open. But she needs the female stuff. What is the tribal affiliation?
Oh, I know, but it's not going to come right now.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you that this is so exactly what I need to hear. It's better than not as good. I mean, these tarot lessons that we've had are worth gold. I have learned gold.
Oh, yeah.
But this is also, and you're right, I'm going to have to come back with some of these loaded questions and talk with you about them. This male and female thing actually has me personally turned off. But now I understand it from a different point of view that you're teaching me on. And it's the first time I've actually, I've listened to it. Because there's a lot of rules. And I really got tired of the rules. Women can't wear underwear when they're sitting on the ground,
Yep.
But
Yep.
It's important
and
to them.
She has to access the female side because her father, like I said, with best will in the world, he's done his best to keep the connections.
Right.
But the female stuff he doesn't know, first off, and shouldn't know, and sure as hell can't tell her.
Right. It's so good to hear this.
Needs the women's stuff.
Perfect.
And she will find herself. And there will be somebody. And she's best to do it now because people fuck around and put it off. And then, Auntie Ruby just died last week.
Exactly.
Do it now. I'd really encourage her in those terms.
I love it. This is fantastic. And you will be seeing me again for these very, very deep things that I need to hear too. I mean, now from you.
Because these are the things there's nothing in between. You're either asked, will I sell my house or will Julia go to college? Or these huge, deep questions.
I get a lot of the deep. I get a lot of, which I'm happy for because people see me as a person that can wade through them and help them. If I can't do it now, I will do it.
Yes.
Eventually through you.
Right. But I'm passing it on in shorthand to you because I know you get it and you'll run with it.
I will. I absolutely
because you're already inhabiting that role, for other people.
Yes.
The go-to person. So it's really good. And it's sort of stuff that, not so much the Native American stuff, but the other stuff you sort of know instinctively. But But it is so important. We are counselors and psychologists and
We
all
are.
those things.
I have
Um,
often felt like Father Priest. Father, I've got my sins to confess to you.
yes.
Like one woman said, I want to murder my mother. So I said, let's talk about, but her mother was on the deathbed and she didn't really mean murder. She wanted the mother
Out of pain and
out.
suffering.
She could
Yes.
have a life. She wasn't going to smother her, I don't think.
No.
But we get to hear this deep stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
so often there's the tears that I just go through boxes of, and I know when people come like that, it's good. It's a
Yeah.
good for them, and it's good for me. I feel loved, trusted, and able and
Yeah.
connected.
Exactly. And because you're getting nourished in your own life, you're
Right,
there for them. But that's
right.
another thing. If you have a particularly heavy session, you should do it always, but let's face it, we get a bit slippery. If you have a really heavy session, take time out afterwards. I wash my hands above the wrists, the hands. Put your cards out for an extra, might be sun on the windowsill or
Right.
wafting them over incense or candles. Just get into the habit of cleansing them, particularly after a heavy session. You sort of think of it, but it's a good
That's
thing to
wonderful
do
too. Yeah,
often.
I need it. I need to do
Yeah,
that.
and because you can help people, but you need to separate from their pain, and so, which isn't just about distracting yourself and moving on. It's in a spiritual level. I've done as much as I can now. I'm cleansing myself of that energy and sending them on their way with love.
Yes, yeah. Wonderful advice. And Dave Johnson's of putting a pyramid over myself to let things bounce off. It's just a mental thing, but he's really
Oh,
helped me.
haven't we talked about protections and closings?
Well, you asked me, and I just said I've got the pyramid, so that's what
Okay.
we did. Oh, and you
Yeah.
also said the angel wings, which I
Yeah,
have been
closing.
using that.
Closing. Don't forget to close.
And then does that mean even between people?
Oh, absolutely, between
Okay,
people.
I've not been doing that between
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
The angel wings, I just
Isn't
that's
it a
got
gorgeous image? You can
yeah,
almost feel them on your face.
exactly. Yep.
The wings that are in the temperance card, it's that
Yeah,
visualization of these beautiful fluffy wings. Yeah.
they're wonderful. Yep.
And as you get more um, sought after too, it's even more important, because
Okay.
people do come to you with huge stuff.
They really do.
Yeah, yep. Well, I know this won't be the end, so I'm not going to get sad. So
Me,
go
but
and do your
I
thing
have
for a
loved
few
this.
weeks or a month, and then anytime just get back and say, I need one or two, or what do you think? Right?
Okay. Okay.
And
Thanks
I'll
again.
always manage to work you in. Mwah.
Love you.
It's been a total pleasure and a privilege.
Yep.
Take care and regards to your husband, and kick back and watch Tremaine.
Yes, we will. I got it written down.
All
Okay.
right. Ciao.
Bye-bye.